And you're good.
All right, we got to be quick today. We got to be quick, Tom Shattuck and Dave Cullinane, because we're going to talk about the latest scoop, the latest expose by the New York Post. They got a couple of big bombshells, which do not reflect well on the challenger this evening, the former vice president, the head of the Biden crime family. But you know what? In a matter of minutes, those stories are going to disappear. The big tech giants are going to make them go away, and everyone will say, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't heard. The disinformation campaign, the election interference from big tech, from Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg will continue unabated. I guess they don't feel any threatened at all by Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz, unfortunately. But we'll give you all the details as much as we can before the story goes away. Rudy was set up by Borat, not Rudy from Rudy Rudiger, Rudy Giuliani. He says he was just tucking his shirt in. We'll get to the bottom of that. We'll ask, and I will ask the question, does anyone still think Borat is funny? I mean, he used to be. He used to be awesome. We'll preview the debate. It is the one and only time Donald Trump will get a chance to ask Biden about his pay for influence scheme. I look forward to it. His mic will be muted, but he will scream, and it will be great. That's my prediction. ACB is going to get confirmed, by the Senate Judiciary Committee, where all the Democrats are boycotting, but they'll push her through anyway. Major League Baseball ratings are really, really bad, but the good news is they're not as bad as the NBA. And Halloween's canceled. In many, many places. We'll find out if Tom Shattuck's brood is going to get to trick or treat or not. God knows, send those 10-year-old kids out, they might die. We'll get into that with Shattuck today on the Callahan Podcast, brought to you as always by DCU, Digital Federal Credit Union. Do you love your car but hate your car payment? No problem. Refinance your car today with DCU, and they can help lower your monthly payment, lower your interest rate, or both. Applying is easy, and the loan experts will help you find the loan term and the payment that fits into your budget. Get out of that high-rate loan and get the interest rate and the payment you deserve from DCU. Learn more and apply today at dcu.org/refinance. Insured by NCUA. Membership required. All right.
Before we get going, I do want to say good morning to everyone on 4chan who's out there.
I was going to say good morning to you, Dave Cullinane and Tom Shattuck. I think, Cullinane, it's obviously Shattuck's fault because he was here yesterday. He got us in some trouble. He asked me about my secret organization.
Yep.
I try to keep that under wraps, Shattuck. I told you off the record, I'm the local chapter president of QAnon. Yep. The meetings are right here in my place. That's where we have our meetings.
There's not much else we can't say much more about Pizzagate. We've said it all already.
Yeah, that worked. We got our guys to show up and shoot the place up, but you don't know. My Colleen Ritzer hat on. You don't know that there's a tinfoil lining in there. Tinfoil lining hat. There it is. We are dangerous, according to Facebook. This should bother me. I should be upset about this, but it's so stupid. It's so insane. I mean, we've done some edgy things and said some controversial things here, but this wasn't one of them. Yesterday, Shattuck prompted me to talk about, mentioned QAnon. God knows Alex Reamer mentions it every time he joins us. He's one of those conspiracy nuts who thinks QAnon actually matters. I agreed with the president. I don't know what it is. I don't know who they are. My life is not affected by them. As far as I could tell, the country's not affected by QAnon. I don't even understand the theory of Democrats being child molesters. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I have enough stuff to read about, stuff to try to understand without digging deep into that rabbit hole, QAnon. So we mentioned it yesterday. I say I don't know what it is. I don't care.
By the way, this is the exact defense that the Grand Wizard would have, just to let you know.
Yep. I must say I'm a good actor. I'm a better actor than Rudy Giuliani was in that scene with Borat. But so we have earned a warning. It's like life as Turtle Boy or life as Alex Jones, that's us now because we mocked QAnon, and there must be some algorithm that Facebook has that if you mention QAnon, you get a warning. Now, how, as far as you know, Colleen, how does this work? I mean, I'm not a Facebook guy, but now I'm branded that we're dangerous and we're part. They literally say we may be associated with QAnon.
Yes, it's people that are trying to find you. So let's just hypothetically, let's just say you were on the radio for a long fucking time. Let's just say that hypothetically, and people don't hear you on the radio anymore, so they want to find you. Sometimes instead of Google, they use the most popular social media site in the world, and they type in Jerry Callahan, and what would pop up first, because you personally are not on Facebook, what would pop up is the Jerry Callahan podcast, and before they click it, underneath it they will see a warning that if you decide to engage with this page, I just want to let you know that you're engaging with QAnon. Basically, that's what happened.
And so Facebook has decided QAnon, whatever the hell it is a danger to the country, and they've decided anyone associated with them gets a warning. Now, am I supposed to appeal this? I don't even know how to do that. Am I supposed to make my case to Facebook that I'm not a QAnon guy? That I didn't even know how to pronounce it till about a month ago.
Did you pledge allegiance? I was here yesterday, and I don't remember talking about.
You made me talk. Yes, I blame you.
I don't remember, so I don't really know what they are either. My wife knows more about that stuff because she's younger than me, and she knows about Gamergate and all the crazy corner of the web conspiracy things. But so those are the guys who sent the guy who shot up the pizza place. I
don't even know about that. I don't even know what that means. The pizza place was supposed to be run by child molesters. I don't even understand it. I don't want to read about it. I would never Google it. I don't want to join any clubs. I used to be in the Knights of Columbus, but I'm not anymore. Until I found, until Kamala Harris said they were a cult. But I only joined them because they had a basketball court. I got to play basketball. I don't like joining things. So I don't even know. I don't care. Does it affect us, Colin? Just tell me.
It certainly affects us. It absolutely affects us. The people that are trying to seek you out and find you. If people share this content to their friends, they won't see the warning. Or if it organically happens, it's people that are seeking you out personally. And as someone who is marketing independently the podcast, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal.
And then the commenters on the Facebook are telling me things I don't know. Such like the guy says we have to appeal. Okay, you figure that out for me, Cullen. Well,
why don't we listen? We're in the sports category. Why don't we just spend the entire next hour talking about the baby reveal that Patrick Mahomes and his girlfriend? We just do that.
Patrick Mahomes has $400 million, a Super Bowl ring, an MVP, but I sometimes feel sorry for him because his fiance is high maintenance. But and I don't think that's going to end well. But we don't have to get into that. Want to do the baseball ratings? They're really, really bad. They're down from last year. They're historically low. They're lower World Series ratings than ever, and they're much better than the NBA Finals ratings. It depends. It strictly depends on how woke you are. The more woke, the more places that say Black Lives Matter and all this, the worse you do in the ratings, which is good. I like it. But we're not going to do that now. This is Super Bowl Sunday morning is what it is. That's what it feels like to me. I have the same feeling I used to have, on a big AFC championship game day. That not that I'm excited about rooting for my team, which I plan on doing, but that I feel like some kind of history is going to be made. That some kind of unforgettable moment is going to have it's going to happen in 12 hours 13 hours from right now. I think Donald Trump may throw a water bottle at Kristen Welker or Joe Biden. Boink, right off the head. What do you think?
Well, Trump was a good baseball player actually in his day. He'll tell you that.
In his first pitches, he does have a good arm.
So I think Biden will suffer from the 2 minutes uninterrupted. I think that's way too much time. Biden generally has about 43 seconds of content before he sputters off into the ionosphere somewhere, totally untethered. I don't think this format's going to work well for Biden. I think Trump has to be careful with the Hunter Biden stuff. he can certainly talk about coordination in foreign policy and how it's built in. Corruption is built in.
Whoa. There's no foreign policy category. We got rid of that. Ixnay, the foreign policy fay, because that was Trump's strength. This for two reasons. He's had some great successes in foreign policy. We're getting out of our endless wars. There's peace in the Middle East, and it opens the door to Ukraine and China, which and we can give you some details again before they disappear from social media. There's a couple new stories today that aren't good for the former vice president. But literally, there's no category. Now, Trump can force it into the debate.
Yes, and that's what he does.
He sure as hell better force it into the debate. But right now, we're going to spend more time on freaking climate change than we are on foreign policy. And she's going to, it's something about racial issues. She said she's going to do that. So it'll be, you got to denounce white supremacy, probably denounce QAnon, which I won't be happy with that. Shattuck, if they denounce QAnon, that's going to hurt personally. I don't know what the hell it is, but I'm going to get hurt personally when they do that. But
no, I hope he doesn't denounce the Groypers, because I'm one of those now with the Hawaiian shirts. I don't know what they are specifically, but I know that if you're somebody on the right, you're supposedly one of the two. But you don't know what a Groyper is? Dave, you know, right?
I don't know my cults. I don't know my underground. I don't know these things.
Facebook will explain it to you in about 10 minutes. But I think Trump, obviously, the climate change answer is Green New Deal. That's what he has to go with.
Warning, Cullinane. He's talking about other cults. You're going to get us banned.
Shattuck is working behind the scenes to take this show down. It's a smart strategy to grow the burn barrel. It is a smart strategy.
Exactly.
You're an undercover. You're a double agent. You're going to get the Groypers or Gropers or what is that? Some kind of testing ring?
It's a long story. It's Groyper. It's so splintered, it's ridiculous. It's
basically the same thing, isn't it? It's white nationalists and all that stuff, right? Isn't that
kind of? But a lot of them aren't white. So there's a new thing of non-white white nationalists out there, and I don't know. I'm not part of any of those things, and I don't. And I'm
thank you, Shattuck, for this.
Yeah. We know the Proud Boys aren't such a problem after all. They're just being used by the Iranians, and the reason the Iranians used them, according to the intelligence services, because they knew the Democrats, or I should say the media, the same thing, the Democrat media alliance, they knew they were suckers for this. So they said, we'll use the Proud Boys, which is not a big organization.
No.
The Democrats will run with it, and it will become an issue. It'll become something bigger. The Proud Boys are intimidating Democrat voters. It's not real. We learned yesterday from Radcliffe and Ray, but it is the most interesting part of that was that they knew that the media, the American media, would play along with their ruse, and they did. And by the way,
and that's been the whole story of all the Russian collusion stuff. Right. And it's always discoverable evidence that the Russians put out there. They know Democrats will discuss it and will use it as a political weapon. Proud Boys, wasn't it interesting that Joe Biden used their name, mentioned them by name? When the woman said, when Wallace said, "Hey, were you going to, disparage white supremacy, whatever?" and Trump said, "Well, who do you want me to say?" And Biden said, "Proud Boys." It's like, wow, why did you have that on the tip of your tongue? The Proud Boys is like
who can't remember Mitt Romney's name can remember the Proud Boys,
right? And if you look at the Proud Boys, it's like this was Gavin McInnes's group of drunkards who would get into street fights with Antifa. There's not much more to these guys than that. And, obviously they're hooligans, but yeah, there's a lot of hooligans running around these days. Only a certain set of hooligans will get you banned from social media. But I mean, I am excited about tonight. I think that this format does not help. Joe Biden. I think Trump can move the needle a little bit, but he just has to talk about. He has to talk about the economy, and then you got to ask people and say, hey, do you like being told what to do and shutting down and having your bank account whittled away and having your office closed and having to lay people off? Well, that's all big government overreach, and that's that guy over there, Joe Biden, and his pals, AOC, et cetera. They're having a good time with this stuff, and this is only the beginning. No, Trump has to keep saying that.
To me, like there's two or three things he has to hammer away at. When she says, obviously, when Biden's assistant Kristen Welker starts badgering him or bullying him and talking about Charlottesville or QAnon, he has to say, good question, Kristen, but I want to go back to foreign policy, or I want to go back to the economy, or see, I think you're right. Economy, say it's 90 minutes. It has to be like 30 minutes economy, 30 minutes Antifa and law and order, because I think that's appealing to, the suburban soccer moms. Anyone who's watched the news, not CNN or, not like read the Boston Globe, but actual newspapers or actual TV news, knows that Antifa is a real threat, that there is lawlessness in some of our cities, that they've destroyed a number of small businesses, and that they've ruined lives in minority neighborhoods.
That's the key right there.
They're really bad people, and they exist, and they're a threat. Unlike the Proud Boys and QAnon, they're a real threat. And he has to say, Joe Biden has never denounced them. He's never disavowed them, and he won't, because they're his base. I mean, these people you see, bashing cops with baseball bats or trying to blind cops with lasers, they're Biden supporters. That's a fact. He has to say that plainly, clearly, which is asking a lot with Trump, and just point at Biden and say, when are you going to denounce Antifa? That's a much better question than denouncing QAnon, because, again, Trump said what we all say when someone mentions QAnon. I don't know what it is. I don't see him on the news. I don't run into him in the streets. I saw, by the way, walking through Boston Common the other day, I saw an Antifa rally. I haven't seen one around here yet. And there was some a-hole doing a speech and talking about Amy Coney Barrett's a Nazi and all this. And he was like standing up on I think it was on a statue of some sort, making a speech. And all around him, there was maybe 30 people. It was not that big a rally. I mean, it's bigger than an Obama rally for Biden. Like yesterday, there was more than people. I think Obama had 17 people, and this Antifa punk had about 30. And on the perimeter, all around him, were Antifa punks dressed in black, all black, and they had their arms crossed, and they were just standing there like they were guard. And I walked by like 3 of them because I was walking around the perimeter, and I just laughed at them. I looked at them. They were these scrawny punks.
Of course, because they just
guard for.
Yeah,
like,
I know. They have the badass, as if look at like they're protecting Farrakhan. And most of these losers are from Wellesley, and they've just rolled right out of Emerson College, right there, right onto Boston Common.
Took an Uber in from Wellesley and stood there and talked about fascism, and Reamer could have taken a whole bunch of them on and kicked their ass. They were just a bunch of scrawny punks.
They are, and that's one of the things
they're real. They're real. They are really there. They're really assaulting cops. They're really ruining lives. And as far as I know, Joe Biden has never disavowed them. He's called them an idea, not an organization, an idea. I think you got to put him on the spot. I think, again, what you said about the economy, 100%. The economy is bouncing back strong, and that all ends if Biden gets in. And here's the thing, the image that he has to promote, the thought, the idea that he has to promote, Trump more than anything, is that you let Biden have into the Oval Office, the following people come with him: AOC, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, Bernie Sanders, Liz Warren, Antifa, Black Lives Matter. These people, Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, these people come with him. You vote for Biden, you vote for all of them. Kamala Harris, who's the president in waiting, the most liberal member of the U.S. Senate. I'm an absolute radical to her bones. She is your next president if you vote for Sleepy Joe. That's the message that he has to hammer home. And if he has to repeat himself, that's one thing Trump can do. That's one thing he always does, repeats himself over and over and over again. Just do that.
Right. And once again, like you said, make sure that you emphasize that it's black neighborhoods, it's disadvantaged neighborhoods that have been destroyed over this last year, whether it's from these hurtful and oppressive lockdowns, or whether it's from letting hooligans, a lot of them white hooligans, run through black neighborhoods and destroy black-owned stores and destroy black neighborhoods. That's what's happening here. And financially, with the coronavirus lockdowns already hurting, and with all this, the thuggery happening and the crime that we have done, we have been awful awful. In the year that we're supposed to have this reckoning, this racial reckoning, we have been disgraceful with at the end of the day with our actions towards the black community. But you look at what Trump has done, the outreach, certainly the historically black colleges, but the outreach to have a conversation in a Republican presidency about criminal justice reform and to pass a bill like that, unheard of. No Democrat or Republican could ever do it. Even Barack Obama could ever get it done. Trump is the guy who is giving disadvantaged black youth a second chance at life. A lot of these people who were thrown into jail by Joe Biden, who is the architect of mass incarceration. He needs to say that.
I don't think you win if you're a law and order candidate. You don't win by saying the other guy.
He's already got the law and order people. He needs housewives, suburban housewives.
You can't think that way. I hate when people say that. You got those people. Just take them for granted. Take nothing for granted. Fight for everybody. But I think I don't think he can do this. I don't think he's got the ability. But if he said, Joe or whatever, Biden, you said that if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. That's more racist than anything Trump's ever said or done. I mean, you literally, your mentor and friend was the grand cyclops of the KKK. Now, that would be a memorable line, a great shot, but Trump's not capable of that, I don't think, is he? I mean, if you said Robert Byrd is from West Virginia, right? Half the state is named after him.
Right.
I believe this is true. There was no KKK in West Virginia. He started it. He recruited people. He started this chapter and recruited 150 racists, hood-wearing racists to become Klansmen. That guy was Joe Biden's friend and mentor, and he eulogized him at his funeral. Okay, now give me something Trump has ever done close to that racist that's in that class. Anything he's ever done or said.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't. And you could even just go to stuff that Biden said that is totally given context and forgiven by the media that if Trump had said them would never be forgiven.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
That's unbelievable. And I guess here's your alibi for that. He's a boob, right? He's not all there. He's not really with it. It's not racist. It's senility. That's your defense, your only defense. Here's what I am sure I'm going to be frustrated with the moderator. She is another left winger. I'm going to be frustrated with the debate commission. The thing is rigged. The mute button is going to be insane. She's never going to mute Biden. Biden could say, shut up, or you're a clown, and that's okay. But if Trump interrupts a rambling, bumbling Biden, she'll mute him. That will drive me nuts. I will be more frustrated by Trump because I'll be like you, like everybody. I'll be saying this is a good opening to mention, this, to mention Antifa, to mention, China, to mention Ukraine, and Trump will start babbling about, Joe, don't say you're smart to me, Joe. You're not smart, or you finished last in your class in law school, or it's some stupid thing that's irrelevant, and it'll frustrate me. I'll be rooting for Trump, but he will frustrate the hell out of me. That much I know. I'll be wishing Mike Pence could step in and sit there and debate Joe Biden. He can't, unfortunately. And you know what else is nuts? This is it. They get 90 minutes. They're going to leave out a bunch of stuff, as you point out. They won't spend enough time on the economy. They probably won't mention Antifa. He probably won't mention immigration at all when it's a huge winning issue. It's, like 75% of the country is against open borders. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are open border candidates. Trump, build the wall. He claims there's 400 miles. That's a winning issue. As my girl, Ann Coulter pointed out yesterday in her column, which was great. He wastes time on all these things like, Jerusalem, moving the embassy, or, talking about whatever HBCUs in the black community, when the issue that got him where he is, the issue that got him in the White House, was building a wall and stopping immigration and pointing out that these illegal immigrants hurt working class people. They hurt young people in the economy. It's devastating to the economy, and the Democrats want to open the borders and let them all in. Joe Biden has said he's going to stop all deportations for the first 100 days. No deportations. That's a winning issue for Trump. And you know what, Shattuck, there's a chance he won't spend a minute on it. He won't talk about it at all.
No, he certainly should, and that is a winning issue. But does he win over the groups he needs to win over if he's on illegal immigration the whole time? I mean, who doesn't think Donald Trump is strong on immigration?
Well, it doesn't matter. You hammer it home. That's what he did 4 years ago. That's how he got elected. As my girl Ann points out, they didn't chant at the rallies, and they still don't chant at the rallies. Move the embassy. They don't chant. They don't even chant for tax cuts.
But the embassy, Jerry, is part of foreign policy and peace in the Middle East. Trump can talk about that. Peace in the Middle East is an incredible thing, and he never mentions that, and he should. Also, he's doing better with Latinos right now. So, I mean, why stop that momentum? I mean, this may be the key. If Trump pulls this thing out, it may be because he's got a surge in Latino support. So, and he's said very nice things.
Yes, and by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
They're not like the black community who is just all one personality.
He's such a boob. But here's the other timely, topical, relevant, winning issue. And obviously the goal, if you're Kristen Welker and Joe Biden, is to avoid all these things that you point out that help Trump, to make Trump look good, starting with the economy, Antifa, foreign policy. They must avoid those and stick to climate change and identity politics and all the things that Biden wants them to do. But it's very simple, and it affects everybody. It's affecting you right now. Your Joe Biden's team lockdown, Donald Trump, his team open it all up. Team reality. That's simple, black and white. If he gets in, he's going to lock us all down again. You have to say that and say it over and over again. Mm-hmm. It's true, and it's a winning issue for Trump right now. He wants to cancel Halloween. He wants to cancel Thanksgiving and Christmas. Not me. He wants to do whatever Fauci tells him. Not me. I think Fauci's an idiot. That's one rant that Trump could go on that would work. That would make sense. But I was hoping we'd get one of these. I was hoping Shattuck today would get one of these Lincoln Project lunatics. These nut jobs, these spiritual nut jobs who think that they consider themselves conservative, right wingers, and they're going to vote for Joe Biden. Those screwballs. Well, we got one. Our friend Mike Graham joins us now, and you're like me. You're like Shattuck. You're excited. You get this big Super Bowl game tonight. The one and only chance that Trump has to go at Joe Biden, expose Beijing Biden tonight. How do you expect it to go, Graham? I know how you're hoping for it to go. You're hoping your guy Biden survives, but how do you think it will go?
This is the moment in the debate that is going to be the most magnificent, is when you see Trump doing this. And you can't hear anything because they've cut his mic off. That's going to be the best.
But that's the question, Michael. The question is, when she mutes him, how does he react?
She doesn't mute him.
Does he just yell?
He doesn't mute him. They actually have an official muter. At one, I'm sorry, I can't talk about this. Okay, I just had a story that involved the word fluffer, and I can't get to that story from here.
Let me get.
But they have an official muter who'll be in the back, and the Trump team is going to have somebody. Biden so far has said they're not going to have anyone in the room yet. We don't know yet, but so they're going to have some Trump guy. I pray that the guy they send is one of Trump's union buddies from his hotel building days. My name's Guido Anastasio. I'm here to see the button. I just want to see that happening. That's the way to do it. But the problem with Donald Trump is that he's going to be Donald Trump. And, Donald Trump just cannot stop himself from being Donald Trump long enough so that we can see Joe Biden being Joe Biden. And that, it's become a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's so full of truth. The way to win this election for Trump would have been to have it be a choice, and he refuses to let it be a choice. He insists on making it a referendum on Trump, and so Biden doesn't get to talk.
If he's muted, though, correct me if I'm wrong, is he can still, shout, right? He can still bang the desk. He's not going to go, I'm mute. Okay, let me know when, you need me. I'll be over here in the corner. He's not going to handle that well, especially if he feels like he's on a roll and they hit the button.
So I know all you Trump toadies like hang out together, so you know they're all listening to you, watching you, and etc. So maybe they'll get this message. If I were advising Trump, this is what I would have him doing while Biden's giving some idiotic answer. Have him actually tweeting out his responses to his 58 million followers. Biden's lying, blah, blah, blah. And then have him hold it, like let people see the phone so they know, okay, go to Twitter now. Trump's tweeting. And then that's what he should do right there.
Yeah, but that takes too much dexterity. And, I mean, he could never do
Well,
it.
take the type hashtag fake news. I mean, come on. This is his wheelhouse.
Just shouting down, Kristen Welker or whatever. I mean, do you expect it to feel as one-sided? Obviously, Chris Wallace was in the tank. Steve Scully was going to be in the tank if he didn't get caught. Is this going to be 2-on-1 like the previous debate?
You know what bugs me about that? I assume so because of the way the media works. But at the same time, I think media members have a legit point when they say Trump does so much crazy stuff. I mean, come on. He gives us so many great questions to ask him. And I agree with that. But at the same time, I saw Jim Jordan from Ohio on Fox and Friends this morning, and I'm not a particularly big fan of his, but he did something really good. He just went through, Trump said he was going to do X, right. Boom. Trump said, and he did like 15 of them. It was so much that I'm a hack. My job was to write lists like that back in the day. And I was impressed. And that's what bugs me, is that there are two worthwhile stories to tell. The media doesn't want to tell it, and then Trump won't let the media tell it if they did because he insists on getting in the way of it.
It's a good point. And Kristi Noem said the same thing last night. I think the email's gone out. But
by the way, Kristi Noem was just here in New Hampshire. Ooh. I got to sit and chat with her at the Red Arrow Diner.
Okay, quick, let me just ask: in person versus
hotter in person than on TV. Unbelievable. So my campaign. Here's my
Josh Hawley, Kristi Noem.
No.
Yes.
Nikki Haley, Kristi Noem, and then the debate is who's on top. Okay. I mean, of the ticket. Who's on top of the ticket?
Right. No,
that's what I mean.
She glows, man. They have these commercials for South Dakota, tourism commercials, and I don't even notice like Mount Rushmore. You can't take your eyes off Kristi Noem. She sparkles.
So the concern about Noem, though, is she's a first-term governor, and you saw what happened with. And I'm not comparing her to Sarah Palin. I don't know enough about her, but practice makes perfect. And so I would just say you may want to get a little more practice. That's just
got 4 more years before she's on the ticket.
I am sandwiched. I'm sandwiched by two Jeffrey Toobins here and feeling a little uncomfortable.
Imagine if Sarah Palin had not if she told McCain, look, I'm not saving your campaign. Bite me. I'm going to stay in Alaska and be governor for another term and a half. And then I'm going to, do something else. And then I'm going to show up in like 2012. Fully formed and having some experience and knowing like geography. I mean, she could have been a very different person.
Yeah, and we never would have seen her on The Masked Singer. So there's that. We got.
I don't even understand the premise of that show. By the way, I see the ads. I have no idea.
The commercials look so stupid. I feel like I'd feel dirty watching it. It looks so ridiculous.
Oh no! I'll tell you what makes you feel dirty is if you're married to a woman who watches 90 Day Fiancé. It makes my skin. It is the most repulsive, horrifying. It just makes you want to end all voting. You don't want any Americans to be allowed to vote after watching 90 Day Fiancé.
People watching that aren't voting, but anyway, Kristi Noem did what Jim Jordan did, and it's a great strategy. I'm sure Trump couldn't do it. He just can't focus. But it was just all the promises he made, and he delivered. And it was some things like the embassy in Jerusalem, but it was also the economy. And things that he said he was going to do. The judges, 3 Supreme Court judges, great. Well, at least the latest one seems great. And promises made, promises delivered. Simple to understand. Look what I did. Look what I said I'd do. But he can't stay on track. He can't stay focused enough to pull it off. I'm guessing his handlers and the people prepping him are telling him, do this, and we'll see if he can carry it out.
I've never seen Donald Trump handled. Then again, I haven't seen the video from.
Yeah, but if you go back and listen to that first debate again, Michael, if you go back and listen to that first debate again,
it's awful.
Just listen to it. Trump had a pretty good command of facts and figures, and he was really putting it to Biden. The problem is he never stopped putting it to him and letting Biden fall. But even when he was going after him about packing the court, Joe, are you going to do it? Are you going to pack the court? Biden was on his heels and was stuttering. And unable
to fun of a stutterer again.
That's him. He's a hater, man.
But Trump was surprisingly studied up. And he was contradicting Joe. Joe, that's wrong. That fact is wrong. Your figure is wrong right there. It's just that he couldn't stop himself from mauling him while he was saying that. This format may help him.
Saying that Donald Trump was a good debater is grading him on a curve. It's like saying that a wide receiver is a pretty good quarterback for a wide receiver. Yeah, every once in a while he throws a touchdown pass on a trick play. Thank you, Bill Belichick. But no, Trump is not good at this.
But Biden's graded on a curve too. They're both not. Neither.
That's true. That's a good point.
And so, does he win? Shattuck thought Trump won by KO in the first.
Yeah, well, Shattuck, whatever. So let me ask you about this. Do you think the media can ever get their reputation back after this 4 years? I don't care at all about this Hunter Biden story. The part of the media that cares is the former political flack who wants to prosecute the Trump campaign for malfeasance for their poor handling of this. If they had kept their mouths shut and sat on this, imagine if the Hunter Biden story burst forth, a month before the election and nobody knew anything about it. And then they were suddenly finding out, holy crap, he's on the plane going to China with his dad. What? But they screwed it up. But this is what bugs me. By any definition, it's news. You may think that it's a political trick. It's whatever, but it's news. Would you freaking people in the news business just do that? Trust me, I'll figure out what. There might be a political benefit to Trump from this? Oh my gosh, I would have no idea if you didn't say it 73 times during a single hour of CNN. Just report the damn news and let us, the viewers, do the rest.
Here's the thing we can all understand. Even the people watching 90 Day Fiancé or Masked Singer can understand that if they replaced Hunter Biden's name with Don Jr. or Eric Trump, it would be huge news. Can you just imagine? Just to forget, and this part they can easily dismiss because it's personal and he's troubled. But Don Jr. with a crack pipe in his mouth, or John Jr. doing lines off some woman's ass, it would be, as I said, the New York Times would wallpaper their office with that photograph. And yet, we just went over this before you joined us. CNN has spent 0 minutes on the story. They haven't mentioned it. Now you can defend it or dismiss it. Say, this is old news, or he was out of office when he took $10 million from the Chinese, or he was dealing with his screwed up kid. You can try to explain it away, but you have to mention it. This, and you're old enough to remember 20, 30 years ago, the media was obviously biased, but they weren't completely in the tank for whoever, for Dukakis, or
right.
Exactly.
They weren't like this.
No, you're right. They're like this. But the thing they would have done with Dukakis, or with even up before Obama, any moment up till 2008, they would have covered the story. They may have covered it poorly. They may have put the apologies in the first 4 paragraphs and then had the actual telling point in the 9th paragraph. But they would have felt a duty to cover it. My question to the Boston Globe Democrat hacks, to the cable news hacks, is what do you think is going to happen when Biden's in office and there's and you come to the American people and say, no, the Republicans are wrong. Trust us. Here's the real story. We're just going to go. And I don't mean we Republicans. Everybody's just going to go, yank you. I don't believe anything you say.
It's going to get worse. Right. I think it's going to get worse because if Trump were to get reelected, or even the next 12 days, it's going to get worse because they're consumed by this rage, this hatred for the man, and the thought of 4 more years. That's enough to make them drop any pretense of journalism or objectivity. And just go back and watch once again the milkshake moment. Hopefully this is remembered and someday taught in journalism classes. Maybe at Hillsdale College or Liberty University they'll teach it. Right. Milkshake moment, when this guy, the big question is, was he taking millions from the communist Chinese? Is that how he bought all his mansions? And he gets a milkshake, and the first question is, what flavor did you get, right, Mr. Biden? And by the way, Graham, he can't even answer that articulately. He starts babbling on about black and white milkshakes. But the next question, the guy doesn't even get the question out. He starts asking him about the FBI, and the media, obviously Biden ignores it because he knows the reaction of the rest of the media, and he was right. They giggled. Right. They laughed. Someone tried to ask Biden about taking money from the Chinese or putting the fix in Ukraine, and they giggled when Biden ignored the question. That tells you everything you need to know.
Right. Well, and also, he was with his granddaughter getting ice cream. And why would these people ask such a vile question? But like I told you, I've gone through the wire services here for looking back now on years. And one difference that we're going to notice if there's a President Biden, as you were saying, Michael, is that there was nothing left on the floor that wasn't codified into a story and baked in and served to us by wire services during the Trump administration. Every little bit of speculation, every rumor, everything was baked into hard news and distributed out there. Now, with this story, with the Hunter Biden story, you've got drugs, pictures of a guy with a crack pipe, pictures, I believe, of a naked woman being used as a drug paraphernalia at some point. All this innuendo about corruption, etc.
She might be 14-year-olds. She might not be a woman. She might be a young girl. But
right. So you've got all of these elements to the story, including influence and corruption, etc. And here's this: if you go to the AP now and you want something on Hunter Biden, this is what you get. This is the latest. Trump ups pressure on Barr to probe Biden as election nears. Listen to this, just one paragraph. President Donald Trump on Tuesday called on Attorney General Barr to immediately launch an investigation into unverified claims about Democrat Joe Biden and his son Hunter, effectively demanding that the Justice Department muddy his political opponent and abandon its historic resistance to getting involved in elections. Where is any of the what, who, why, here, when, how that should be in this?
And you guys saw this. I'll say worse yet was the day before, 2 days ago, when the AP had a story where they looked at all the police records for the people getting arrested at the Antifa riots, and they said they were mostly just good kids, quote, caught up in a bad moment. You're talking about
news.
Stores like AutoZone and
no, who cares? Who cares what the actual facts are? Who cares? I don't want your opinion about them being nice kids. Just report what they did. Is it that hard? Remember a month ago, 92% of the Black Lives Matter events are mostly peaceful. 92%. So in other words, 1 out of every 10 times these groups get together, there's violence and looting. That's what you're telling me. That would be the headline on Planet Sane. I got a local one from New Hampshire, where I'm New Hampshire Journal, I run, blah, blah, blah. So Wednesday night, was that last night? Yeah, it was last night. They have the debate for 1st Congressional District, and the incumbent Democrat is on stage with the Republican guy and starts attacking the Republican guy because he supposedly does business from Washington, D.C. with evil lobbyists, whatever. He says, you've been dating a guy, because the congressman who's gay, who's a lobbyist for Amazon. You never disclosed it. You voted up 10 times on it, and you're dating the guy. And so the congressman denies it. Well, an hour after the debate, they released the photos of the guys together traveling in London. Nobody in the New Hampshire media and nobody in the Boston media that covers is going to cover this story. New Hampshire Journal will have it exclusively, not because we're intrepid reporters, but because no one else even covered it. And all I'm saying, I don't know that it was inappropriate that they did. Who cares who he dated? I don't know that he did anything wrong or illegal. I do know when Republicans had lobbying relationships with female type people who were straight, it was covered by the Washington Post. They just won't cover it. And so how can you ever trust the media in the future to say, yeah, you're covering the news I need to know. You're taking a look at it so I have some sense of what's going on. No, I can't trust them to do their job. They won't do their job.
It's rock bottom. I guess it could get worse. I guess they could be more in the tank in the second Trump. If Trump wins 4 more years, they're going to just completely lose it. But it is incredible and today you wake up to 2 more bombshells. I mean, I would agree that I'm sure you'd agree that the former CEO of the company that Hunter Biden had formed is saying, yes, Joe Biden was the big guy. He was getting kickbacks. That's kind of an important story. And I would call that, it's a kind of a foreign term these days.
No.
I would call it news. That's news. And yet CNN, the cable news network, will spend 0 minutes on it. As Glenn Greenwald pointed out last night with Tucker, he said, people in newsrooms in New York and Washington, they wake up in the morning, they go to work, and they say, how can we suppress the news today? That's their number one job, is suppressing the news for 12 more days. That should frighten everybody. I don't care if you're some bow-tied professor at Wesleyan. You should say, this is a little scary.
And how weird is it that we're in this age of interconnectivity where there's supposed to be way too much news, way too much content. You need gatekeepers because the average person can't process it all. And yet we're actually getting less information because the chokeholds in the system at Twitter and Facebook and Google are choking the real live stuff. If you had said this 3 years ago, you're going to know less about what's going on in the era of the internet. People would have said, no way, that's not true. But you would. Back in the old day, the boring old Washington Post would have had this story somewhere.
Right.
And would have been on a lot of doorsteps, and then other newsrooms would have picked it up.
And
But now the media feels liberal.
It would have said Republicans pounce or
Yeah, sure, whatever. I mean, but they would have covered it. They would have covered it badly. They would have covered it partially, but they would have covered it. But, this is back to, and I don't mean that we're in 1984, whatever, but, one of the things that George Orwell pointed out is that censorship isn't just the guy at the door who whatever, covers his stuff up. It's the guy who convinces you that there is no story, who won't let the story exist, who takes away the words that you would use. Remember when court packing was a thing 7 days ago, and suddenly we found out that court packing isn't adding more judges.
Right.
Court packing is just filling vacancies.
Right.
When did that happen?
Duty. That's court packing. But
The AP went with that definition. They know it's a lie.
Right.
And they went with that definition anyway. So once again, you said, it's frightening, whatever. The people who should be terrified are people who pay their bills by working in the media. Nobody's going to pay for your crap product after November 3rd. Once you've gotten Trump out of the way, once you've done your job, you're going to be tossed aside. And then people are going to say, okay, I need news. Oh, I can't get them news from them. That's CNN. They don't do news anymore. I can't get news from New York Times. They don't do news. And their numbers are going to plummet because once you don't need propaganda anymore, they're done. You can't go back. It's like, oh, no. I was a hooker last week. I'm faithfully married.
Right. No, totally. And actually, look at this story. And it's especially
I'm a hooker for a week now. I'm a virgin.
It's especially poignant with this story too, with the Hunter Biden story, because it has to do with censorship on Twitter and Facebook, like we were saying. And now all you have to do is people can now see the evidence. They can say, "Wait, is my paper doing that? Does the Herald? Does the Globe? Is the Globe not reporting this?" Because the theme of this is censorship. So if your paper's not reporting it, you're now involved in this whole thing. And I think that's,
really Shattuck, you know this as well as anyone. So do you, Graham. You know, it's really easy to do. Just let your subscription lapse. Just say, I really don't need that Boston Globe anymore. I'm sorry. It doesn't tell, it's obviously not doing the news. They're obviously not a real newspaper. I really don't need that garbage anymore. I'll spend my money somewhere else. I'll read other websites and just, pretty soon it'll wither away and die. And
might I recommend InsideSources.com for national content and NHJournal.com, where we have a brand new podcast. And you're going to love this, Jerry. We have 3 Republicans this week, one a night, all 3 voting for someone different for president. We have Jeff Jacoby from the Globe. He's voting for the Libertarian Joe Jorgensen, who, by the way, is a woman. I just found out. And
Rick
we
Wilson.
have, and then we know Tom Rath is like the dean of the Republican Party in the Granite State. He's voting Biden. And then we got a conservative activist named Shannon McGinley. She'll be on actually voting for Trump.
Just so you know, that middle person is a fraud. There's no such thing as a Republican voting for Biden. They don't exist. They're frauds. They're liars. They don't exist. Anyway, by the way, I'm looking at CNN's website right now, trying to find the latest Hunter Biden revelations. Can't see it, but they do have a definitive story. It says Biden wins second debate. So they're all set with that. Posted it early. What is your prediction tonight? Your choice is Trump by KO or Trump by decision, or Biden by KO, Biden by decision.
When it comes to political prognostication, I'm a Clubber Lang Republican. Prediction: pain.
That's good. We want pain. We like pain. Hopefully it's the Biden. Hopefully it's Kristen Welker who's.
Hey, some of us have to work for a living. Can I get out of here, guys?
All right, get out of here, Michael Graham. That is Michael Graham from the New Hampshire Journal and the Lincoln Project. He's also voting for Biden and Kamala. He's always been a big Kamala guy, so I'm not surprised. But you can't tell me we have a Republican who's voting for Biden. Those aren't Republicans. Those are just Trump haters.
No, those are that's his set of like Jonah Goldberg and Bill Kristol and all those people who have been essentially, yeah. Yes, they are.
By the way, as Turtle Boy points out, if you're an Ever Trump, or if you're one of these Jonah Goldberg, Steve Schmidt, Michael Graham types, if we listen to them, if the country listened to them, there'd be no Gorsuch, there'd be no Kavanaugh, there'd be no wonderful, Amy Coney Barrett. She would not be. Right now it would be, like Cornell West, and it would be, I don't know, who else would be who's your other radical, some other Sonia Sotomayor type.
Right.
Those would be on the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court would be, a liberal legislative body for the next 100 years. So
yes, we'd be entering to term 2 for Hillary Clinton, no matter what. You're right. They looked at what Mitt Romney did and they said, well, that's the perfect campaign. He's a gentleman. He has a good command of issues. He's not afraid to bow to the winds of conventional wisdom and proper political etiquette. So if Candy Crowley steps on you and contradicts you in the middle of the debate, you stand back and take it, even though it was a momentum changer for the race. You stand back and take it. And, it's most important to be gracious and be pushed around, and that's all that matters. And, we would have had Jeb Bush as the candidate.
Just think of how boring the last 4 years would have been. You know what? We would have missed out on history. But I got a couple more thoughts on the debate, and then I want to see how your kids are handling the fact that Halloween's been canceled. But first, I got to tell you about Shea Concrete. Shea Concrete can build your building if that's what you want. Shea Concrete. Here's 2 thoughts before we move on from tonight's debate, which I'm very excited about. Can't wait. Karl Rove and Mike Huckabee, I would call them, traditional Republicans. They both said Trump cannot focus on Hunter. He can't spend too much time on Hunter. I disagree. Hunter's a great story, and it all ties in to what a corrupt liar his father is. His father has made a fortune. I mean, nobody in the media will ask how a guy on a senator's or vice president's salary can afford $10 million mansions all over the state of Delaware. But, I think it's a good question. Laura Ingraham says last night, Trump, to win this debate, quote, needs to be respectful and calm. Well, why don't you just say he needs to grow wings and fly? I mean, you can't tell Trump to be respectful and calm or he won't be Trump, right? That's not, he'll just not.
I disagree with that. I think that there's part of Trump who can be more sober and deliberate and softer when he speaks. I think he's capable of it. I think there are times if he needs to speak to suburban women that he can't come off just like a cretin and beat the crap or try to beat the crap out of Biden. Biden engenders empathy from people. It's not to beat the crap out of Biden is not the way to go. Let Biden fall on his own.
Because he's senile or because his wife died 40 years ago? What do you mean empathy?
I think for both of those reasons. And I think the wife dying 50 years ago, people have been trained by this media to think of Joe as good old lunch bucket Joe who came from tragedy but knows how to hug you if you're down. And Meghan McCain in The View, he goes on there, he'll hug everybody, and when they weep, he's a shoulder to cry on, and he's a decent man, unlike the mean guy in the White House right now. And unfortunately, that stuff has been working on people, although Biden is as cynical a politician as there ever has been.
Right, he's pulled it off, and obviously, people who don't pay close attention think, oh, he's regular Joe. They don't know that again, he lives like Kanye and Kim in these massive mansions all over the place, these waterfront homes, and no one ever asks, how did he afford that? How did he get that? He did it long before he was in the private sector for 3 years, making money, doing whatever, making speeches. He was on a government salary and he was buying mansions everywhere. And I think we get a good idea of how he managed to pull that off. I mean, I know Chris Wallace says he's innocent because he saw his tax returns, and there's no item in there that says kickback for Chinese government, $10 million. That's not on there.
That's true. And 50 ex-intelligence people, right, Jerry, have told me that that this looks like Russian disinformation. It has the whiff of it. So we're just dismiss this completely, even though Joe Biden himself and the people on the receiving end of the emails essentially confirmed that they're all accurate emails. But that's where
I mentioned this earlier, and I think it's still relevant because it's still affecting people's lives. I mean, not like elitists in the media whose kids are in private schools or have tutors, but regular people like Tom Shattuck, with his massive brood of young children. Obviously the petty tyrants in blue states, including our liberal governor Charlie Baker in Massachusetts, Andrew Cuomo, Murphy, Lamont, all these power drunk tyrants They're taking away Halloween now. They're banning trick-or-treating. They're banning Halloween parties. They're obviously Fauci, their hero, has already said you can't have Thanksgiving. I mean, you could have a women's march or a BLM riot and go nuts. Those are important, but you can't have your family over for Thanksgiving because that'd be a super spreader. Here's what amazes me, that people still buy it. I mean, yesterday, the mayor of Boston said they're going to go no more in-person classes because there's been a spike, not in deaths, but in cases, a spike in cases. So lots of people don't even know they have the virus, get through the virus, get better from the virus. And he says that's a problem. No more in-person learning, which is devastating, as you know, to some families that have to go to parents that have to go to work, parents of special needs children who can't sit in front of a computer and learn. They need in-person learning to survive. Those kids, those special needs kids, don't matter to Charlie Baker. They don't matter to Andrew Cuomo. They don't matter to Mayor Marty Walsh. They're irrelevant. They're collateral damage. They play to the mob, to the globe, to the academics that are rooting for lockdowns. Again, they might as well, be nothing. They might as well be house pets. Charlie Baker doesn't care about special needs children. Did you get that right? I said it. I mean it. If he did, he would insist on in-class, in-person training, especially young kids, young teachers. They don't get the virus often, and when they do, it doesn't matter. Yesterday, Mayor Walsh said he wanted sixth graders to go to school, but he didn't want them to risk their lives. Now, if you said that 6-7 months ago, Tom Shattuck, I'd say, okay, you're ill-informed, you haven't read up, you don't really understand the virus. This is October, almost November. This is October 22nd. The mayor of a big city says a sixth grader, an 11-year-old, is risking his life by going to school. Now, we know the numbers. The chances are less than 1 in a million that child will die from the virus. If the child gets the virus, the child won't even know he has the virus. We have a mayor who is that ill-informed, who's that ignorant on the biggest story of our lives, the coronavirus, who doesn't even understand the virus. Either that or he's lying. Either he's dumb or he's dishonest. Those are the two choices.
Well, or there's a third choice in there that has to do with organized labor, Jerry.
Oh, that's a good point. But just how frustrating is it? Yesterday, the governor announced that the train, public transportation will not stop in Salem, Mass, because they don't want Halloween revelers to go to Salem. It used to be a big tourist attraction, or will be. It still will be, but don't want people in costumes to walk around the streets, because why? I don't even understand why. These are people who have encouraged rioting. I mean, Mayor Walsh thanked BLM and Antifa for rioting in the city. Said, "Thank you for coming." Super spreader event, if ever there was one. That same guy does not want kids to go ring on the neighbor's doorbell, hold a little bag out and get a little Snickers bar, because that 11-year-old kid might die from the virus. We are being run by morons, absolute morons. And I feel bad for people like you who have young kids that are supposed to sit home and with their mask on and say, the scary boogeyman, the monster, the virus, the coronavirus monster is going to kill me. That's just insane.
Well, and it's worked too, because we've had in the next town over, Newburyport, of course, they're not going to be doing Halloween stuff. But all over the Facebook group pages for my town, people are saying, is it too dangerous? Should we not do this? I don't know. What about the guidance from Charlie Baker? They say to use big pieces of candy now so that kids won't have their little paws going in like raccoons to the little pieces of candy. Do you think it's safe? A lot of people have fashioned these huge cannon barrels out of PVC pipe that are 10 feet long that you're going to insert one piece of candy and then slide it down to the kid at a time. Which is crazy. But I mean, we're planning on going out, and it's funny that the signs, we're planning on going out with our kids and going to the houses that have signs that say Lenny Mira, who's a Republican state rep. Believe it or not, Jerry, I've got one of those up here.
Wow.
Or Trump. And we assume those people will be ready to have Halloween, and they're going to have candy, and it's not going to be a problem. But the ones that have Black Lives Matter or Hate Has No Home here, I'm assuming that they are not open for business on Halloween.
So if you see that, you just can't go to the house, because if you see a sign that says Black Lives Matter, Hate Has Home, then you assume it's either a total moron who thinks putting a Snickers bar in a bag is going to give that kid a deadly virus, or they just are so afraid to violate the order from the dictator Charlie Baker that they won't even turn their lights on. That's what you're assuming.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. People are absolutely afraid, and also, who knows? Because once these kids get together, like last year's Halloween, it's in every neighborhood, in your neighborhood too. The kids see their friends from school, and they get together and they make a bigger group and a bigger group. And now, what if there's a group of 20 kids? That's in violation, and they're not social distancing. No, everybody could get written up. You watched Tucker last night. You saw the deli owner, the Jewish deli owner.
It's unbelievable. If you haven't seen it, the guy's got a deli and he just does takeout because it's against the law. It's against the law. De Blasio, and by the way, I'm pretty sure he's a Jewish guy, right? He's a Jewish guy.
Yeah.
And as we know, de Blasio and Cuomo are anti-Semites who are cracking down on only one religion. The only religion they've singled out are the Jewish people, mostly in Brooklyn. And they've sent in the Stasi, sent in his private secret police to bust these restaurant owners. If they let anyone in the restaurant, they can serve takeout, but no one can come in. They can't have outdoor seating. Now, these are people barely hanging on the brink of bankruptcy. And they sent in one of these agents to write a summons to a restaurant guy who just opened his door to let some air in. He wasn't letting patrons in. No diners weren't in. He was serving, it's called mixed green. The guy's name is Green. And so the guy comes in and writes up a summons, and the manager of the restaurant's going, why? I didn't do anything. There's no people in here. I just opened the door to get some air. And the guy is such an asshole. He's like, it's all here in the summons. He doesn't talk to him like a human.
Yeah.
Talks him to, it was this close to saying, here's a yellow star. Put this on your shirt. You rodent. I mean, it's just vile. These people, de Blasio.
Isn't it incredible? I mean, being closed, the playgrounds the little Jewish kids play in, and threatening to close all of the synagogues out of a punitive measure.
Shut down. No, it's not closed. Shut down the synagogues.
Right.
Shut down. This is a guy who would laugh if they burned the synagogues. Cuomo and de Blasio would say, "Good, I warned you."
And we should talk about it, Jerry. Has his brother been compliant?
Oh, no, that was such a great piece. If you haven't seen Tucker from last night, you can get it online. Tucker just strips bare that freaking fraud, Fredo Cuomo, the biggest fraud on any network. On CNN, Chris Cuomo is a big anti-mask guy. He pretended that he had the virus. He pretended to quarantine back in April in his basement. It was all an act. He's been caught by Tucker a couple of times without a mask on. And yesterday they had the summons from he has a building. He has a mansion in Long Island, an apartment in Manhattan. And he apparently goes about his day without wearing a mask. And they had to write him a summons saying, you violated this order. You're on the elevator, you're in the lobby with no mask. They've had enough of it. He's the ultimate hypocrite, but he also represents a lot of people in mainstream media. We've seen that Caitlin Collins and others.
Oh, yeah.
We saw Leslie Stahl in the White House yesterday without a mask. They're all frauds. They're all liars. They're all hypocrites. But Tucker is so good at just taking these people apart. I'm going to tell you in a quick anecdote before we go about how this whole thing has played out. Right near me is a massive skateboard park, which I'm, philosophically against the taxpayers building a park so young kids can break their arms. It just seems like they could break their arms on their own. When we were younger, we climbed trees, fell out, broke our arms. Now the government builds you a place you can break your arm. Anyway, it's a place. It's very popular. It's very big. A lot of skateboarders. A lot of grown men, by the way.
Yeah, it's huge. It's Paul Revere Park. You can see it from the highway.
So when the lockdown started, when Baker first started feeling it, Marty Walsh first started cracking down on these citizens, they put a fence around it, like a 3 foot high, like I don't know what you call it, like chicken wire fence all the way around it. Next day I'll go by it. Kids are just going over the fence. Boom, 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 over the fence. And they're skateboarding. couple days later, another fence, a tall chain link fence, like 6 feet. And so you got 2 fences. I watch these kids throw their skateboards over, climb the fence, boom, boom. Skateboarders. A few weeks pass, and they're jumping the fence. I don't know if the cops ever they finally realize how stupid this is, and someone says, "Hey, they're just kids. They're just exercising. This is not a bad thing." They take all the fences down, and the thing is full of skateboarders again. The virus is still here. It's spiking. So special needs kids have to sit home. According to the mayor, they can't go to school because the virus is spiking, but the skateboard park is full of kids every day. And obviously, none of them are dying. None of them are losing their lives.
You know that there were meetings and they discussed just filling it with concrete like it was Chernobyl.
Like
We're not going to have this. But when you talk about school, yes, these are the same people who tell us that the schools need to open early because there's malnutrition happening and the kids need to eat early. And you have to have after school programs because a lot of these kids have single parents and can't go back to their dangerous neighborhoods because there's a chance they'll get shot.
But who cares? Who cares about them? Do you think Baker or Marty Walsh gives it?
No, it's incredible. And think about, you talked about Salem, Mass, Jerry, the witch city. There's one day a year where Salem, Mass is the mecca for commerce. One day a year. And you've got to think these businesses last March who were forced to close and shutter said, okay, if we can just bridge it together till October, if we can just make it till October, get a little bit of summer dining maybe, but October's the big take. The hotels, a Hawthorne Inn, et cetera, they knew that that's their time. October is a killer month for Salem, Massachusetts, and they nuked them right now. And that's going to be devastating.
It's brutal. And these people are barely hanging on. And their government not only doesn't care about their plight, they are forcibly, working against the idea that, think of the level of tyranny. Let's just call it that. They say, okay, what do we control here? Obviously we can't shut the whole city down. How about this? I got an idea. We'll shut the subway. We won't let the subway stop. They have a train, and normally it stops in Salem and people get on, people get off. But if we do that, people will get off and they will go have fun and they will trick or treat and they will have some laughs. And we can't allow that because the virus, or actually because Trump, but we can't allow that. So they literally order the train not to stop. That should scare everybody. If that's not government overreach, I don't know what is.
Well, they're also, they're adding parking bans as well. So if you're just a restaurant or a hairdresser's, whatever, you're screwed. Good luck. Because if you want to, get your, have a breakfast sandwich in Salem, Mass, you have to park in Danvers. So that's great. But more people, I'm lucky because I'm right over the border is New Hampshire. Right across the river here is New Hampshire. And there are bars open in New Hampshire and restaurants. And it looks like America in New Hampshire.
Wow.
Man, my regret now is I moved this close to New Hampshire. Why the hell didn't I just move to New Hampshire?
Good point. Why didn't you go over the river? And, there's actually a presidential election up there. That must be part of this. But anyway, it's too bad. Your kids still get to trick or treat though? I mean,
we will be going with them. Yes, we'll go out into wherever there's.
You have 4 kids. I'm guessing at least 2, maybe 3 will survive. You might lose 1 or 2, but hey,
that's why we had the 4 because we knew a pandemic would come along and wipe out at least half of them. So
let's go. Let's be honest. They're playing with fire. They're risking their lives. But hey, everyone, Kit Kats. I like Kit Kats. It's worth risking your life for a Kit Kat. Good luck with that, Shattuck.
That is a great candy. By the way, just to get the prediction out there, Jerry, I predict a very good night for Donald Trump. And I think these debate rules will hinder Joe Biden greatly, and he will face plant on a couple of occasions tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. I predict a good night. I don't want to overstate and say very good night because he never lives up. I get frustrated with Trump because I watch and I think of things he should say, things he should do. He doesn't do them. But I think here's why I think Biden is in trouble. Yesterday, Barack Obama, a guy who didn't even want to endorse Biden, who knows Biden has issues, didn't endorse him until the nomination was sewed up, which is a little curious. He was in Philadelphia, correct? Did a rally. I think there was 27 people there. It was unbelievable. He read the teleprompter as well as he ever did in the old days. He was back. Do you know how close Philadelphia is to Wilmington, Delaware? I think it's less than an hour. I think it's like 30 miles away. It's close.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm going to get the exact distance while I talk here.
It is very close, Jerry, because when we were at the DNC 4 years ago, I actually had to go on a Sunday to a Packy in Delaware to get beer, and it was right up the street.
That's how you measure things. How
Yes.
close it is to the nearest package store. So Joe Biden is in his home, obviously doing debate prep for, I don't know, a couple hours, 2-3 hours. He's in his home. He has a driver, a car, a limo, whatever. He could get up out of bed or off the couch into the limo, be in Philly in a half an hour, take the stage arm in arm with Obama, right? That'd be a pretty good visual.
Mhm.
All the networks would be celebrating and saying, oh, look at this, the good old days, they're back. He didn't do it. There was no Biden-Obama joint appearance. Why? Let me ask you, you're a cynical guy. Why didn't he do it? Why didn't he get in the car, drive a half hour, meet his friend, his former co-star on the ticket? Why didn't he make that appearance, which I think would have been pretty damn effective, even, as a cynical guy, I think that would be a pretty damn effective appearance. Why didn't he?
Well, I think that he probably has pretty dramatic ups and downs during the day. And there are times during the day when he's not ready for prime time. And there are other times when they can get him out there to do an appearance and he's fine. And a lot of times we find out just hours before that he's not coming out. Sometimes we find out days ahead. And they're cloistering him because he's problematic. There's no other way you do it. And obviously now when you've got Trump now on this world tour, I mean, Trump is hitting every single state now. He is tireless.
And he's doing it for two reasons. One, he's campaigning, he's trying to win. And two, he's trying to show the contrast that he's got energy and stamina and Sleepy Joe does not. And he points that out every time. It's 32 miles. And I was watching the highlights from Obama. Again, small crowd, not a lot of energy, but he did a good job, read the teleprompter. 32 miles. He could have, he wouldn't have missed lunch. He could have missed dinner. He could have gotten in the car half an hour, probably could have got a police escort, made a half an hour appearance with Obama, arms raised, cheering crowd, cheering media, back in the car and back home in time for The Price is Right. I mean, it would have been an hour and a half, 2 hours out of his day, which obviously he had nothing done, no interviews, nothing. And he didn't do it. It just makes me.
No, you're right, Jerry. You're thinking like a consultant, and that's right, because you get the photo op with Obama. You're telling people right before the election, hey, we want the old coalition back. Remember me? I'm Obama's right-hand man. So if you're a black American, you're thinking of not voting this time around, I'm a stand-in for Obama. This is a continuation of something that was historic and good all around and good-tempered and yeah, no, it's you would think, especially with Trump
makes me think something is wrong. And obviously Trump thinks he'll be on drugs. James Woods will be tweeting out various conspiracy theories of microphones in his ear and magical contact lenses in his eyes. And something is wrong, or he would have been there in Philly. I mean, the idea that it's just about debate prep is ludicrous. You'd have to be Chuck Todd to believe that nonsense. It's more than debate prep. He is hiding. He's sitting on his lead, I guess. But it just seems like he wouldn't have had to talk. He could have just raised arms and hugged Obama and back in the limo. And everyone in the media would have been saying how incredible it was. And
now I don't like you talking about his stuttering, Jerry, and that 12-year-old boy who was stuttering. That's distasteful that you're doing this.
Well, I just got the memo from my brothers in QAnon, and they said go with the stuttering, and mention the fact that he was hiding yesterday. So I do it the Q guys. I didn't even to be honest with you, till about 2 weeks ago, I didn't even know how to pronounce QAnon, and now I'm a member. But,
all I know is that just like with 3 years ago when you were doing the OK sign, suddenly everybody was seeing everybody do OK signs around Trump, right. And they knew that it was white supremacy, which is another newly defined thing. White supremacist now just simply means you're a conservative in or around Trump. But yeah, that's what the QAnon stuff is. Nobody really knows what it is, but it's a nice diversionary tactic to make people afraid and whatever. By the way, I'm looking here. I've got the signboard with this soundboard with all these Biden cuts.
Think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
It's funny. So there's probably about 50
That's
different
the worst
cuts.
of all time. You know the thing.
But the thing is, Jerry, none of these cuts are stuttering. He doesn't stutter in any.
Yeah,
I've never heard him stutter.
That's just Jake Tapper, rapid response team, doing his best damage control for his guy. Tonight there'll be more. I'm looking forward to it. Tonight we'll be sitting in tomorrow. I was gonna say, does Shattuck know that he's doing a third day in a row tomorrow morning yet, or are we breaking?
Are we on tomorrow?
Well, I mean, last time the post debate you were on, we got insane numbers on Facebook.
Ooh.
Now, there's people that would say the Facebook algorithm helped us out that morning. I think it was the Shattuck effect, personally.
I think it was my QAnon brothers. They all tuned in.
They could be the brothers, yeah.
I don't want to do tomorrow morning, Cullinane. I want you to stay up late tonight.
Oh,
I know you don't do. No, you're not good at this. Cullinane is the
I
only.
think there's got to be a Bravo reunion of some reality show.
34 year old. How old are you?
34. Yeah,
34, and he goes to bed at 8 o'clock at night. It's just
I get to the office at
you live like an
3:45.
old man.
I get in the office at 3:45 in the morning. All right?
There is something nice about being up really, really, really early.
That shit
really
done.
early.
Yeah.
It's not conducive to drinking a lot of beers, but it is if you're
Well, that's why I'm a blackout of the weekend.
Cullinane drinks during the day and passes out and gets up early.
Oh yeah,
I
you
wanna-
worked the early shift, Jerry. That was very possible that morning radio guys would find themselves.
20 years I did it, and I never once said, "Boy, I like this." Getting up at 4 in the morning, I hated it. I don't even like getting up at 6:30 in the morning. But anyway, I want to do it tonight, Cullinane. Let's get this out in the open. I want to do it post when I'm just feeling, because after these debates, I'm raring to go. I want to start.
Don't talk to me. Talk to Shattuck. See if you can convince him
I
to
don't
stay
care
up
about
with
him.
us during the
I
debate.
love Shattuck.
All right,
As long as you're up for it, I'm ready to do it.
fine, I'll do it.
Ooh,
Fine.
Right. Well, we're going to do a special bonus Friday podcast, but hopefully it'll be up like at midnight tonight. If you're watching the debate and you can't sleep and you want some post-debate commentary, hopefully we'll be there. If not, if you're driving into work Friday morning, by the way, I looked out this morning. The traffic is almost at pre-coronavirus levels, almost back to normal.
yeah.
Not good, but I guess it is good. It means that people are going to work, and that's a good thing. Back in April, May, June, there was nobody out there. Now it is stoplights as far as you can see, just like the old days. But if you're stuck in traffic tomorrow morning, hopefully the podcast will be up there. The post-debate Callahan podcast. We will work on that, and hopefully not too many people will be scared away by the QAnon warning that Facebook has tagged us with. Have you learned any more about this, Cullinane? I know you're looking at all
I was looking into the appeal process, so I have to. That's after we're done editing, I am going to be appealing this, and I believe I have a good case. And it's just one sentence. I have no idea what the fuck QAnon is.
That's my defense.
Yeah.
The idea that somehow, whatever, we've talked enough about it. It's insane, but that's the point we are in this world. Is you say, unless you come on and just say, evil Trump evil, I hate Trump, then you get targeted. I mean, that's how it
Just
works.
think about that. How afraid they are of just three guys just shooting the breeze on on a webcam, that they have to make sure there's a special notation to discredit everything that's in it. Just so you know, this could be a little toxic. It may look like the Jerry Callahan show and that it's fairly benign, but just so you know, little toxic QAnon.
Maybe start paying a little bit more attention to people who start masturbating during live streams instead of people that don't know what QAnon is. Maybe let's try that.
Well, I mean, and plus we're just, like you said, shooting the breeze. Aren't they busy suppressing news? I mean, let's be honest. New York Post is breaking news every morning. Shouldn't they be busy suppressing that to worry about what I have to say? It's crazy. Hopefully, we win the appeal and I can keep my QAnon membership under wraps. Let's keep it under your hat. Don't tell anybody.
Hey, just before we go, I do want to. You talked about Jeffrey Toobin. This is where the left is now on Jeffrey Toobin. This is Joy Behar's reaction to it.
I feel sorry for the guy in a way, because
I do feel sorry.
I kind of like his reportage on CNN about the Constitution. He's pretty good on that, and the Supreme Court.
I know that you also liked his reportage, Jerry, but do you feel sorry for him?
You think if that were, I don't know, Sean Hannity got beaten his dummy, or Greg Gutfeld that she'd say, I feel sorry for him. She feels sorry for a 60-year-old pervert naked on a Zoom call because she liked his reportage. Reportage.
There are people who use the word reportage and people who don't.
Okay, I made my list. Add that to the list. If you're voting for Biden, you're voting for Joy Behar. You're voting for those dingbats on the View. That's who you're voting for. But all right, we're gonna do this later. Hopefully tonight, if Cullinane can stay up. If not, tomorrow morning. Look for it. We will have the post-debate wrap-up with all the highlights and all the lowlights and all the insanity that is sure to come. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. That is Tom Shattuck from the Burn Barrel Podcast and the Little Sun. I appreciate it, Shattuck. Good job. Thanks to
guys.
Shea Concrete and Allied Paving and DCU, and thanks to everybody who is supporting us despite the warning from Facebook that we're dangerous and we're sharing crazy conspiracy theories. It's all a load of crap. We're gonna straighten that out, I hope. But thanks for hanging in there, and thanks to Cullinane, and thanks to everybody for listening. I appreciate it. This is the Callahan Podcast. I'm Jerry Callahan. Hopefully, I will talk to you again late tonight or tomorrow morning. We will